So this comes with Windows 10 Home. What the? Come on, let's get rid of that Windows Home. Let's get some Windows Pro. Copy and paste my code from the description. You can also get Office 2019. Just paste my code. Woof. It's Windows Pro time. Righto, tally-ho there, champs. Now let's get into it. Let's see how this Aero 17 performs for content creation. And I'll tell you now, let's just do the conclusion first. It doesn't get any better for content creation. There are so many good things about this. I mean, first of all, the display. 17-inch display. Obviously, a 17-inch display is better than a 15-inch display for content creation. I don't need to tell you that. It's also a HDR display as well. And how does it compare to the OLED? Yeah, it doesn't have the pop and contrast and, the deep blacks of the OLED. It is HDR 400 VESA, so it is really good. And HDR content looks amazing on it. It really does. Wide color gamut as well. And of course, color accurate. I mean, the color accuracy of Gigabyte's displays is amazing. And the specs, right? This thing has an i9 9980 HK, overclockable, and I've set some records with this. Nothing has touched this in terms of when I undervolt it and overclock it. Yeah, 4500 virtually in Cinebench. That's like nearly 1,000 more than anything. So amazing performance as well. RTX 2070 Max Q, that's what you want. It has studio drivers. It has two M.2 slots, so you can have one SSD for your operating system and your program and one for your content. Put your content on there. That is the best way to do content creation. Have an EOS apps and your content on separate drives. Also has the fastest SD card reader going round. Thunderbolt 3. It just ticks all the boxes for what a content creator wants. Also, you got Ethernet too. There's not many content creator laptops that have Ethernet. So you have everything covered there. So let's see how it actually performs. And of course, it's going to scream with an i9 and 8GB RTX 2070, which I think is the perfect graphics card for content creation. Now, when it comes to DPC latency, it's exactly like the Aero 15. Yeah, it just slightly goes into the red a little bit. Now, what I've been told is it's really not an issue with Windows laptops if you use ASIO drivers. So that sort of bypasses all this crap, and Nvidia graphics card can play up with DPC latency. So yeah, I mean, welcome to Windows world in this sort of sense, but I can tell you now, my Focusrite Claret Pre 2, that plays up with the Mac, so it's not always better on the Mac side. So let's get into some of the performance here. And first thing, alright, the color gamut. It's got all the color gamuts covered pretty much, DCI P3, it's still high. It's over 500 nits, it measured like 700. It's hard to tell with like really pure hot whites, but yeah, the color gamut's wide enough, color accurate, you got no problems there. As you can see here, world record, nearly 4,500 in Cinebench. Now that is overclocked, and all these tests I done with a minus 100 millivolt undervolt, because other manufacturers are putting out laptops with undervolts out of the factory. So I think that's fair. Other than that, it's pretty much stock. You can get more out of it if you undervolt more and overclock. Look at that Cinebench score. Like, as far as the SSD goes, it's a quality Intel SSD and it's perfectly fast enough. And that's a good thing about this laptop too. All Intel inside, Samsung RAM, no sort of Frankenstein thing. Wi-Fi 6 as well. So you got all the latest stuff. Now, when it comes to spec view perf, I always get that mixed up. You can see here they both got the same graphics card, but it seems like the Aero i7 i9 is faster. It's a bit of a strange one because pretty much the thermal envelope is pretty much governed by the 180 watt power supply, so they're both very similar in terms of thermal output and performance output. Even though the 17-inch you would think can go harder, really the 180 watts is the limiting factor. Doesn't really cool that much better either. So let's go to Photoshop, and as you can see, i9 versus i7, not that much difference. And if you don't know already, MacBook Pros are very well optimized for Adobe content in certain applications, especially for H.264 and Premiere Pro and in Photoshop too. Yeah, it is optimized for the Macs, but with the studio drivers we're getting good performance with the Aero 17 in Photoshop, and of course the i9 makes the difference there. And when it comes to After Effects, this one is puzzling because one has an i9 and one has an i7, and the i7 is scoring higher. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's just because it's using more power for the CPU, can't give the GPU as much power. the sort of balance there, the dynamic balance between the 180 watts, balance in between. That's where the AI could probably come in. So it has a smart AI and it can actually use more CPU or more GPU. That's where the AI would be of benefit there. Now, when it comes to raw CPU performance, this is where the i9 shines, because this is basically a CPU test, exporting raw images from Lightroom to JPEGs, and you can see there, it's similar to the XPS 15 because they both use the i9. But when it comes to the undervolt and the overclock, look at that, boom, you're taking another 10 seconds off. This thing can really go hard, overclocked and undervolted together. But of course, that undervolted score on the right is just that minus 100 millivolts in its performance mode stock and with the gaming mode fan. And when it comes to Premiere Pro here, as you can see here, Aero 17 versus XPS 15. There's no sort of contest here. I will say H.264 and just the XPS is really good. But the thing about this benchmark is it doesn't just test playback and H.264, test ProRes, Canon, 60 FPS, 30 FPS, DNxR, everything. It tests a lot of things as well as effects and rendering. And this is where the power of the RTX 2070 comes in. For H.264, if you're not doing a load of heavy effects and stuff like that, XPS 15, Aero 17, it's not going to be much difference. But then if you're doing like heavy GPU effects, putting in transitions and stuff like that, and certain types of rendering, yes, that graphics card will give you the better performance overall. That's why this one's hard to beat as the content creation king with the 17-inch display and all the benefits of the Aero 15 as well. So amazing laptop, great for content creation. Like Gigabyte know what they're doing, and try and beat this one. Catch you in the next one. Tally ho.